Hello everyone, it's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Obiajulu or Labisi Ubo, and with me are the ladies. How are you doing today, Nima?
To God, I'm grateful to God.
Okay, what's happening?
Very grateful to God for life. My tire was kata.
Jesus.
The back owner said tire this morning from Ogudu. I started hearing, in fact, I heard the sound was changing. So I was on a conversation with Mr. Z.
So yes, driving slowly?
Driving slowly, so I'm just grateful for that conversation and that opportunity to be on a slow grind. I finally discovered that the tire don't scatter finish.
Thank God.
I'm going to fix it at Alakbere MRS then.
Okay. They should be done before the show is over.
No, I brought it.
Okay. Oh, you waited. Oh.
Jagaban. But tomorrow is my support system's birthday. My everything. Lola, our daughter.
You have so many. We don't.
No, Yolu's only daughter.
Oh, okay.
Has been with me since I had Imran.
Oh.
And she's like Imran's second mom. She's always there. She's one of the most responsible, most accountable under 25 I have seen.
Oh,
I know she's afraid of my reprimands, so she's careful. But for everything, she follows through. She follows through. When I come back and why is this not here? It's because this happened. I'm like, you say, it's not my fault.
It's not me.
She's always taking responsibility. I've always said to my husband, I think she's a better manager of persons. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Yola.
Hannah. Imran will say, Hannah. Happy birthday, my darling. I love you very much. I appreciate you so much. I see all you do, and I pray that your future is blessed and beautiful.
Amen. Amen. How you doing, Mariam?
Doing fine. I'm excited for this week, Friday, because it's going to be my very first book reading. Already, I have my 22 children. You know how I am. I don't know if you know how I am about numbers. So it's on the 22nd of April, 2022, with 22 children.
You share?
So
and you did not register, you
just
crashed. This is to register.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine? She says she's going to get crashed. You're supposed to come with your invitations. If you don't have an invitation, I don't know what's going to happen to you. Anyway, you know, vultures to the vultures to the rescue. I'm just really happy with the constant positive reviews I get about the book. And, you know, I was teaching not only children, but also adults as well, the important roles that vultures play in our environment. This is something that we need to know and also take charge in conserving them and protecting them. Awesome.
When I traveled, I saw a lot of owls.
Okay.
Sleeping face. You know the way they sleep now. So I was looking. Yeah, bats. Sorry, bats. Sleeping face down. And I was like, okay, this should be Miriam's next book. Tell us about them. Yes. That scare us, especially in Africa.
Yes, the misconceptions.
Tell us the story.
I was an owl dancing in a church during church service.
Oh, really?
He said, what will you call this? These are witches attending.
No,
supposed
there to praise God too, like you. Yes.
Yeah, they're very interesting animals. We need to know more about them. So I'm fine. I'm getting better. You know, I had this accident that I did not mention on the show. After I got back from my trip, somebody said you peppered them too much with your pictures and videos, so they decided to attack you. And I fell face down, my knee hurt, everything. So I'm recovering. I was able to do a few exercises yesterday. I'm not limping. No, I will do that next week. I'm not limping again. I'm a lot better. So now you people know the attack that some enemies came after me. But God saved me.
She just fell. She was wearing a dress that was too long and she tripped.
Yes, I tripped and I fell. Now the same thing. All right, let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll take the newspaper reviews. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Today we start with the Punch. Power generation crashes by 903 megawatts. National grid crisis persists. Drop your presidential bid, Afenifere leader tells Tinubu Osibaju. Another NAF jet crashes in Kaduna, 2 Fiat killed. It is finished. Shoyinka, Sani condemned Dariye Nyami's pardon. 10 banks lent customers 2.9 trillion in 12 months. Oil price, IMF upgrades Nigeria's economic growth forecast to 3.4%. Presidency, OSGF disagree over Buhari minister's refusal to resign. I won't allow anyone destabilize Nigeria, Buhari tells governors and service chiefs. Sans Uzodinma Afenifere faults Afe Babalola on interim government. Maritime lawyers oppose 15% NAC levy, demand court intervention. Buhari spokesman inefficient, poor writer says Kuka. 4 children, 16 passengers die as speeding Bauchi vehicle explode. Christian Sexual Act. School, parents, pupils meet today. Police. Despite CBN clampdown, Nigerians traded 306 billion Bitcoin in 2021. So which of the stories do we have in the punch?
Major headline now. This section 84 shall not rest. So the PDP has also gone to appeal that judgment that that they got to allow the AG just delete the section. And so they are in court for that. The Senate and the House of Reps were in court. I took that yesterday. But today they're asking the president that, from the office of the president, just as all state governors are doing. You see the mass resignation that happened in Kano State under Ganduje, where his commissioners, because they have intentions to do, they are resigning. All state governors are giving circular, asking their appointees who have intentions to run to resign. So that has already been an issue of a debate. But they're asking that what are you waiting for as the president? What exactly is delaying a circular coming out? So, according to the Punch, somebody in the presidency is talking now, saying it is not their own duty to issue that circular. It's the duty of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation to issue that circular. Because he's not done it, it's not anybody's fault. Oh. And of course, you see
that he does not know he should do it.
Exactly. No. You can even guess that from their sentiments initially. The president had asked, even after signing the Electoral Act into law, that the Senate should please expunge that section. Because, of course, he knew it would affect his people. Senator Chris Ngige now has declared his intention to run for the presidency. The Minister for Transport has declared his intention to run. Minister for Justice wants to run for governor. All of them are all appointees of the president and around him. So obviously, that sentiment is why they are delaying. But it would be an unfair playing ground if somebody had the power of an office and then is running for an office. The right thing is to leave that office and run, and so everybody are on the fair playing ground. Yes.
So. Yes, I've got the Nobel laureate, Wole Soyinka. He has responded or reacted to the president giving pardon to the former governors, Joshua Dare and Reverend Jolie Yami. He says, as far as he's concerned, that this, what the president has done is like throwing a putrid egg in our faces. He says that for them to think that those two people are the sort of people that would need pardon, especially given all the things that have been going on. He mentioned 2 people. He says there are 2 men, Mubarak Bala and Yahaya Sharif, who have been locked up for, allegations on blasphemy in their music. One is supposed to be in prison for 25 years. Another person is facing a death sentence. We do not see those ones, to be pardoned. And it's these ones who stole money from us that should be pardoned. And he says that to religious leaders, what they are doing is really causing a division. And also that he said, I like the way he said the religious leaders are watching as faithfuls are walking away towards secularism, because of the way that what we are pushing is more about division instead of bringing people together. And Sheikh Hussaini also, remember, a former senator, also had reactions to the pardoning. He says that for him, he thinks it's a political move, that because these 2 people represent or have some influence where they come from, and maybe the ruling party is saying that, okay, I've done this for you, so your people have to do something for me.
Yes, so the human interest story here, there was an accident that happened in Hutsuru village along the Bauchi-Kano Road in Bauchi State. 2 commercial buses rammed into each other and caught fire. And 4 children were among 20 passengers that lost their lives. They said it happened around 11:30 a.m. and it took the FRC about 12 minutes to rescue them at the scene. It was only 1 person who was rescued alive and he was taken to the hospital. The remaining people were burnt beyond recognition. And they said one of the reasons they had this accident was overspeeding. And we've always said this over and over again. We need to be very careful, especially on the express roads. May God grant their souls eternal rest.
Amen.
Let's move on to the nation. Pupils gang sex in Dubai. Police invite parties. APC primaries. Ngige, Nnamani join presidential race. Oshu appointees to go. 7 resign in Kano. NEC to OK guidelines. Lecturer dies 1 week after being released by kidnappers. 2 pilots killed in Air Force trainer jet crash. Battle for PDP ticket hots up as nomination closes today. Buhari won't allow anybody to destabilize Nigeria. Tinubu raises smear campaign a lot. Adejobi is forced pro. Kwankwaso picks NMPP forms. Soyinka faults pardon for Dariye in Yami. You've taken that. So what other stories do we have?
Yes, so we know the ongoing story about Chrisland and the unfortunate event that happened when the children went to Dubai. So the police have asked, that's the Lagos command, has asked for to see the parents, the teachers that were supposed to be in charge of watching the children while they were away, the children, all the children involved. And they said that this investigation is going to be really detailed and elaborate because, first of all, they need to even know who exposed these children to such a behavior, who could have abused or assaulted them for them to know how to carry that out. And also to ask the school, like, what their responsibility in how they had those children and allowed for that to happen. We heard that they've closed the school and there are various campuses around, and it's just also for them to send a message to other schools as well, whether it's secondary or tertiary institutions, about just the gravity of what has happened. So I'm happy that, you know, the government is taking that step to make sure that proper investigation is carried out concerning this.
So I have the story of the lecturer in the Department of Music, Delta State University. That happened to be my university, Abraka, Professor Ovabohene Idamoibu, who is the head of department for music. They said he died after being released by kidnappers. So kidnappers had picked him up, I think, April 9th, and they had him with them for about 8 days. And they had requested for 3 million ransom, which was already paid to them. So they released him. So by the time he got back, he was not able to talk, he was not able to walk. So they quickly rushed him to the hospital. And after a few days, he just gave up the ghost. This is a very painful story. Only God knows what has happened to him in the den of the kidnappers. And the fact that they got their money and yet somebody has died. It's really, really painful. Okay, I think we should take a break now. When we come back, the newspaper reviews continue. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. The Daily Sun. Gunmen abduct 5 wedding guests in Anambra. Delsu lecturer dies after regaining freedom from kidnappers. Kuka adamant dares Buhari. Soyinka Vatsa flay Buhari's state pardon to Dariye in Yami. 2 pilots feared dead as the Nigerian Air Force trainer aircraft crashes in Kaduna. Sex scandal. Police squeeze Christian head teacher, parents, and others. Nigeria needs problem solver, not a consensus candidate, Obi. Terrorists kill 5 abductees in Kaduna. Babalola's interim government suggestion call to anarchy, Uzodima. IPOP unmasks government sponsors, places bounty on fake ESN. Who has what story in this?
Major headline.
Okay. Go ahead.
So Bishop Kuka is not backing down for anybody, especially not the spokespersons of President Muhammadu Buhari. He says that it is not in the place of Garba Shehu, who is his media person, to tell him, a Christian, about Easter. Because, you know, Garba Shehu had said, instead of going on the pulpit and talking about the death and birth of Jesus Christ on Easter, Bishop Kuka went into government and all of that. So he should take off his cassock and then come and join politics. And he also advised him to leave politics to voters. Bishop Kuka is now answering him that, for all of you saying that I hate President Buhari, I've said it before, I respect him, he's a gentleman, but he has handled Nigeria terribly, and that even his policies, his wife also agrees that they're not exactly perfect or right, and that so he has not said anything, and that for all of those who have said he has attacked him, he doesn't think that that's the case. He's only speaking his mind about what Nigeria is, and he knows what to use the pulpit to do.
He's Nigerian too, and he's going through what Nigerians are going through. So he has to write. Yes, he's also a voter.
He has to talk about it.
Yes.
That's what all of us agree on.
Another very sad, tragic event at the Nigerian Air Force facility. One of their aircraft crashed, and they said that it was about to take off to Abuja on a training mission and then crashed right there at the NAV facility. Two of his pilots are feared to two of the pilots are feared dead right now. This is another sad story. I know someone said that they had seen the video and that these were two young men, so they are in the school training for things like that. And the question is, we are having just too many crashes.
Yes.
We had one last year where, of course, many of the top military men were involved and lost their lives. The question is, they're asking that they're not sure if it's some technical issue or if terrorists gunned them down. But I'm wondering, are we doing all that we need to do to make sure that these planes are right, that they check everything that needs to be checked before these planes are they will take off? The people who are supposed to man this plane, the pilots, are they qualified? Have they been trained enough to even take off? Do you understand the proper checks that needs to be put in place?
Are we doing due diligence?
Are we doing due diligence? I know that there's a question of terrorist attack. That's a whole nother issue where it is still it still indicts our military that because we've called these bandits ragtag army. They are not really a strong organized army. So how are they constantly able to just take us unawares and create such havoc?
I doubt that the plane was gone
Rest
down.
in peace. And their parents, they send them to
young
school
men.
to do
Very
this.
expensive training. That training is very sad.
Another sad story. Gunmen on Monday night abducted 5 people in Udo village, Akpo, in Agwata local government area of Anambra State. The victims reportedly attended a wedding, and on their way back, they were harassed by 10 p.m. at gunpoint and picked up. The police has confirmed the story. They are aware it has happened. They said the kidnappers have not reached out to the family members of the victims, so they don't know whether they are going to be looking for ransom or not, but they are doing everything in their power to ensure that they rescue these people, and I pray that they do. Moving on to the Vanguard. Kuka replies presidency, insists federal government has performed poorly. Police invite Chrislam management at school, denies pregnancy test. NAF in Super Tucano jets kill top ISIS commander Alma bin Umar in Lake Chad. IMF raises Nigeria's economic growth forecast to 3.4%. Interim government poll suspension more dangerous to Nigeria. Afenifere Nwodo Zodima, Middle Belt Forum, Pandev, all spoke against it. Tinubu, target of blasphemous campaign, media office. Terrorists kill 3 kidnapped victims, threaten to kill more unless ransom is paid. 2 feared killed as Nigerian Air Force aircraft crashes in Kaduna. We've taken that story. I had carnal knowledge of my daughter to use her for money rituals, father confesses. How to stop killings in Southeast by Igbo leaders. Okay, so what do we have?
The Southeast story. Of course, Igbo leaders are calling on the president, on advising him on how to approach the killings in the Southeast. He says the federal government says it's about as a result of injustice. And a security expert, former security chief at the ExxonMobil, Sam Otoboeze, was addressing security conference, and he was saying that it's about injustice and the federal government should listen to aggrieved groups, and he said they should use multidimensional approach to solve this. He said they should, first of all, employ the youths, empower the youths. They should elect only people of integrity into leadership position. Yes. They should use quality representation in other parts of government, and development of key infrastructure in the area to sort of quell the needs of the agitators. Victor Omer says it's a result of injustice, and the federal government should start to dialogue with aggrieved groups. I wonder how that will work. But the monarch, the traditional ruler of Ihim, autonomous community in Isi-Alamba, no local government area of Imo State, says that they should start to engage traditional rulers in these areas. I agree with that because Amotekun is working here as a result of a partnership with the hunters, the traditional rulers, and, you know, whatever traditional system existed. But the Archbishop of Onoha says they should reach out to aggrieved people and, you know, rise up to the challenge. So different suggestions on what possibly could help are being given. But I don't understand meeting with the different groups. That's what I believe is the reason we are still in the Northeast issue now. Talk to one group this morning, another group springs up tomorrow. I don't agree with the different group approach at all.
Yes, so let me quickly take the major story. I'll come to you. Interim government post-suspension more dangerous to Nigeria. So Are Babalola, the founder and chancellor of Afe Babalola University at Ado-Ekiti, said on Tuesday that conducting the 2023 polls with the 1999 Constitution is not healthy for us and it will push us into deeper abyss. And he gave his own reason, saying that the 1999 Constitution is wired to keep recycling politicians and we're not able to solve the issues of insecurity, that what he would suggest is that we have like an interim government, which will be for like 6 months to enable them come up with another constitution that would help us solve Nigeria's issues and all the ills that has bedeviled Nigeria. A lot of people came after him, saying that they agree with everything that he has said. That's Afenifere, amongst other prominent Nigerians, that they agree with every other thing that he said, except that interim government. This is the Nigerian constitution. This is democracy. We cannot, for every political power we have, must go through an electoral process. We cannot have an interim government. Then you gather ministers, former governors, former presidents to come and sit down, where we can have a credible election and move on. So my suggestion is, I remember a few months ago, we sat on this table and we talked about the fact that they were going from state to state to have a constitutional amendment conversations. What happened to it? I'm not hearing about it anymore. Nobody's talking about it. Why do you want to take 6 months before an election to now start working on the Constitution? Why can't you constitute those former presidents right now to start working on the Constitution before the 2023 elections? Why?
Constitutional amendment has already been, it's only possible within the National Assembly, and that has been done. But, you know, some people are still saying this amended Constitution is not still working. So instead of having that 6 months, maybe they should just rely on what the confab, what the old confab recommendations were, and use that recommendation.
Okay, Miriam.
Yeah, so bandits, remember they have, they kidnapped many people in Chikun local government council area, and they had been asking for ransom for these abductees. But because they haven't heard from their families, they went ahead, they killed 3 of them and dumped them into the bushes. Now called family members to ask them to come and pick up the body, and warned and threatened them that if they do not get the ransom, that's how they'll keep picking the rest of, you know, the abductees, like that. The person who spoke to the paper was saying that he got a call, and when they all rushed to the area to pick up the bodies, that the police had gone ahead of them, picked the bodies, and had deposited them at the mortuary in a hospital. Sad story again.
Very sad story. May God help us all.
Amen.
Thank you so much, ladies. That's all we can take on the newspaper reviews. When we come back, we go to the hot topic of today. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So according to reports, the National Council of State has granted state pardon to former governors Joshua Darie and Joel Nyame of Plateau and Taraba states, respectively, who are serving jail terms on the terms of corruption. This has generated mixed feelings among Nigerians. So you can join the conversation on 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948, or tweet us using the hashtag YourViewTVC, or send us messages on Facebook and YouTube so we can talk about this. I remember when the story broke and we're reading it, there were a lot of, would I call them conspiracy theories now, because people were talking from different angles. A lot of people were upset, saying that why will the president pardon just these 2 people? There are a lot of criminals who do not have anybody to help them, who are Nigerians as well, who have the same rights as well. Why doesn't he extend it to everybody? Let's just know that you want to show mercy all around. And some other people are saying that, how do you pardon these people after so much that the EFCC has expended in getting them in the first place, and then you pardon them? What do you think you're doing to the morale of the EFCC officials, who naturally don't even like high-profile cases? So it's been a back and forth on what the president should have done and should not have done, and I want us to break them down in layers this morning. So what were the first things that came to you when you saw the story?
I said the federal government goofed. I thought it was a bad thing to do. I thought it sent the wrong message, especially for this administration, because this administration has a, if we were going to put a hashtag for this administration, it would be, we're fighting against corruption. And for me, this waters down, makes it look like, you know, they're not serious about fighting corruption. Yeah. Yes, what they did was legal, as they say. The president has that right to pardon, you know, some criminals, and it was not just the 2 of them. I think 157 others of them for various crimes and whatever that they had committed. But for these 2, I feel that we could have used them to, even if it was just for show, this administration should have used this to boost that image or that brand of we're fighting against corruption. They would have even used them very well. But instead, they went the way of, you know, I remember during Jonathan's time, there was so much criticism because he had pardoned, was Alamesia. And then, you know, some of the people that are part of this administration were actually very loud and very vocal in their criticism of that. And then to think that, you know, they are all now part of this administration that has done almost the same thing as the last administration. Just when did they put these people in jail? You know, it took such a long time to even finally convict them. And even when they were given their convictions, their sentences were reduced for health reasons. Yes, for health reasons or things like that. And then you take these very 2 people and then you pardon them for, I mean, if you're fighting against corruption, this is definitely not the way to go, and it definitely sends the wrong message.
Yeah. Well, you know that they had said it wasn't, like you mentioned, it wasn't just the both of them. I would have loved to see the details of the other prisoners who have been pardoned, for people who have been complaining that these 2, and, you know, single them out. If we had had details of normal Nigerians who have been pardoned as well, it may have made it easier to swallow. What do you think?
So I don't know how I know there's a recommendation for those who are to be pardoned, and because they are politically exposed, their name will make it to the list. But then you then expect the president to, in his own powers, be sensitive to Nigerians. Of all the politically exposed persons under prosecution, we were only able to sustain 2 in this administration. These 2, and, you know, in this administration, others struggled through the court to get their bails. Some, you know, got their cases, got their acquittals through court. But these 2 got convicted. And for Yame, who had the 12 years jail term, who had only served 2 years, you know, the pardon came. So there's so many shades of wrong on this pardon. And these 2 people are the bone of contention because, of course, we know how politics, how some big wigs who are well-connected can do no wrong. In murder cases, it's quicker. We've criticized the EFCC and other agencies of security agencies for catching Yahoo boys without catching any politician.
Yeah.
But being able to sustain convictions for Yahoo and fraud and not being able to sustain conviction. We have, what's his name, this former minister under Jonathan, Fani Kayode, walking free now while his case is still in court. Yes. He goes when he likes, he comes out when he likes, the court issues a bench warrant, he doesn't obey, nobody's arrested. We are complaining about, you know, the security apparatus and their ability to enforce and get justice in this kind of cases. And then the one that they finally get.
Hey.
You know what a pardon is? What pains is that if a person gets an acquittal, that means he was proven not to have committed an offense. If he gets convicted and serves out his term, he committed an offense, but is an ex-convict. But when he gets pardoned, he's as new as the day he was born. Never did all the drama that happened around him happen. So they come out with a pardon and they can go back right into politics, right to the offices that they didn't, they didn't finish.
That they abused.
Abusing, and go and perfect the abuse of those offices. So it's just so painful that, every time, when Jonathan did it, wasn't this painful. Because Jonathan did not tell us he was fighting corruption.
Yeah. In fact, what was his own word about corruption? He said corruption is not
he found a way to explain it.
But you said corruption is what you are fighting.
When you came in, with all the expectations that we had of you, a lot you have disappointed. We're still paying subsidy and even a worse amount of it.
Yeah.
But, and now you're now pardoning people around politics. In the midst of the killings and all of that is happening, we are sure, if we're not, if we're not certain yet, that even if the bandits themselves were caught, they'll get pardon.
Yeah. So let me even ask
there's paddy around.
I normally feel that is either the presidency does not understand how Nigerians feel about his administration, or he does not care. There are two sides to it. Because, like you mentioned now, his campaign was hinged on, I'm coming to fight corruption. Everything was going haywire before he came in. And Nigerians felt, okay, this man has integrity. This is hope for all of us. For the fact that your premise for your campaign was hinged on fighting corruption, is it that you're not paying attention to the pains of the people? That's one hand. Secondly, do you think Nigerians really know what they want? Because in Taraba State, the people are waiting to welcome back their former governor. Yeah, going to be celebrating.
I won't say so.
You won't say the other people?
If Taraba State had about 7 million people,
yes,
you have only 200,000 supporters of
who are waiting.
You cannot.
And so who are those people? Are they not part of us?
No. You know that there are several heads better than some heads. The people who have benefited from whatever businesses they did. When Abacha Lut would come, there are still people in this government who believe, in this present time, who believe that Abacha did us a favor. He was one of the best. We saw
saved the money for us.
Yes, now we saw somebody who self-declared himself the evil genius, celebrated in this country when he turned 80. We've seen a lot of things. So whether you are bad or good, you have your supporters. You have people who love you, whether or not. But the people who love you, do they represent the 200 million Nigerians? No, they cannot. No.
Thank you so much. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we take phone calls and messages. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Do not forget to join the conversation on 08127053687 or 09139076948. Miriam had a comment.
Yes, you were saying that how people, those who are accepting of this pardon, and I just like the way Nima explained it, that one person or one powerful person or one person that has a big platform accepting or applauding something does not necessarily speak for the whole of the people that come from there. But also we need to look at the part that politicians are politicians and politicians will take care of politicians. And so that is why you would ask the question for someone who has hinged his campaign and his administration on the fact that they are fighting corruption. And yet when it comes to things like this, it looks like he's, he's flip-flopping on his ideals. And there's also something that he said that we always like to repeat when he first, this administration got it, where I belong to no one and no one belongs to me, or something like that. I belong to everybody or nobody belongs to me. But with things like this, when we hear people in government say, oh, it could be for political reasons because these people are influencers wherever they are, and it shows that this administration has, giving you one favor and expect payment back, it means politicians will constantly do what politicians need to do to keep themselves in power.
Just for their interests.
Yes, to keep themselves in power, to have whatever it is that they think, whatever largesse or whatever benefits from running the country. That is what they'll try to do and push. And so that's why we'll have people like this, but people like this being pardoned. But secondly, also need to look at what this does for those of us watching, what this does for younger politicians trying to run for office, does for any Nigerian, you know, looking at these methods that I use, this pardoning of criminals. When you say to a Nigerian, do not steal, do not be corrupt, you know, if you're a politician, this is how you can say with your words or the Constitution what you should do, but we know exactly what plays out. It means that you can steal and still get away with it. You can steal, and then if you're able to gather a few of the councils and plead your way or whatever, you will get off it. It's saying to our police and it's saying to our EFCC officials that don't kill yourself. Because we have heard of some of them where they go to meet all these top-ranking people and they're like, how much is it that they're giving you? How much are you being paid?
Sit down
Go and sit down somewhere. And a lot of them will be sitting and thinking, am I stupid? Why am I doing this? Some people have lost their lives in the quest for making Nigeria better. And this is how we repay them. Why do criminals get off scot-free in Nigeria? Why is it that people who do such grievous acts get away? What these two people have done, just this, I'm using them as an example, is that the amount of money that they have stolen has affected education in these states, hospitals. And you can trace it to the fact that we have all this insecurity going on left, right, and center, because monies that would have gone into employ people who have been left idle, to educate children that are just running around. It's such a huge impact on the people and the country as a whole, and then you pardon them, and then the person that steals 200K down the road, you know, or still
chicken.
Yes, you put tires all over that person and throw the person in jail, or you kill that person. We need to be serious about what we want as a country. We need to be serious about the message that we are passing. We cannot sit down one day and we are saying we are fighting bandits, we are doing all we can, we have gotten to Kano jets, when you are not fighting it from the grassroots, when you are not showing your policies and in your pardon the sort of people that you want to highlight. If you don't do it right here, these are the consequences. The consequences are people turning to kidnappers, now kidnapping people kidnapping people, throwing their bodies in bushes because we are not able to pay for ransom. Everything starts from somewhere and ends somewhere, and our government is sending the bad message right now.
Very bad message. Thank you. So, you know, we sit here and we always talk about the fact that we don't see a lot of convictions of these high-profile people. We see the EFCC always chasing after these young boys, Yahoo boys and everything. And when it comes to these big politicians that we know are actually stealing from the resources that we are supposed to all have and better our country, we don't see that much drive to catch them. This definitely is one of the reasons. That's one. Now, two, let's talk about sensitivity. If you were in the shoes of probably the EFCC officials that handle this case, or even the judge that passed this judgment, how will you be feeling right now? What sort of encouragement would you have right now?
Yeah, I've just said it's demoralized, of course. You would think twice before you do your job overdo. Let you not come and go and die for the country. You know? But this is an abuse of that section that empowers the president to pardon criminals. Not exactly because they were criminals. In the past, how it was used is to settle injustices. So, Chief Awolowo was pardoned. Chief Enahoro was pardoned. Yakubu Gowon pardoned... was it Yakubu Gowon?
He was pardoned.
That pardoned Muritala Mohammed.
At the time?
Ojukwu was pardoned. That's Shagari pardoned Ojukwu. Journalists were pardoned, you know, in the past. So where you have, in those military days, where you have a military dictator coming through coup, and then, you know, picks up all the journalists who wrote about the undemocratic act, or they pick up, they come and say, okay, all politicians under the civilian rule should be immediately incarcerated and arrested and all of that. When a democratic government comes in, it exercises its power to pardon, and then addresses these injustices so that everybody's body calms down. Because those were not exactly crimes, they were crimes based on the biases of whoever was the dictator at the time. What we see today, somebody that they have investigated from beginning to end. A
convicted
has sat down, used public resources to prosecute. You know, they'll be coming today, adjourn tomorrow. Come tomorrow, sometimes they will
for months, yes,
and reach a judgment. The police officer who investigated has used public resources to reach a judgment. It will now bring to question that if you continue to pardon, that means you absorb completely this person, you wash them clean like a newborn baby of whatever crimes they've committed. Why will we be asking who murdered the 3 police officers that went to arrest Wadube people?
Yeah.
Let's quickly take this call. We have Yakubu on the line. Good morning, Yakubu.
Good morning, and then
good morning,
Mary,
sir.
good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Sister Anima, this is my first time speaking to you. Ramadan Kareem. You see, it is unfortunate. Some of us that die fans of Mr. President, first time and the second time of elections. I support this government, especially me in particular. And then the reason for giving him that kind of a support, even in my office, I campaign like say it's my father. Yes, he's a father of us. And then I believe because of his integrity and then campaign that I'm coming to fight corruption, economics and all that and so on and so forth. And then coming to this very particular topic, it is unfortunate as I said earlier. And then do you know, when we are prosecuting, especially these 2 governors, we use the taxpayer money to prosecuting them.
True.
And then the judge that giving that very particular judgment, they waste their time to make sure that they give the right judgment. And then the EFCC that is going up and down every day and night to make sure that these people convicted. And then let me remind you, do you remember one time that Mr. President telling us that the judge and then the courts are not supporting in terms of fighting corruption and all that?
Yeah.
Now, the court supported, the judge supported, and then they give the parties these 2 particular people, and then you come out and then you pardon them. And then these people that you pardon, you forget that the money that they siphon, some people, they're supposed to make this money to build the road, make sure that the state is secure, and then some people are killing that state. Some people that fly the road concern that state, they are dying. And then those people that die, what happened to them? Whoever recommend these 2 people to Mr. President to be pardoned, it do the service to this great nation. Because some people recommend these 2 people to Mr. President to be pardoned. What?
Thank you so much, Yakub. Even if they recommended them to be pardoned, the president knows what. Yes, he's the one that pardoned them. He still knows everything. But let me ask you. Okay, you wanted to comment. Let me ask you, Nima, from the law aspect, is there anything that can be done to overturn this pardon?
I don't think so.
Wow, that's it.
So based on what I know, I'm hoping that the benchers, the senior advocates, will come out and tell us something different. But what I know, for the level I know, I don't think
there's nothing. So it's gone. It's gone.
I don't think
and just a few days ago, I had read from the papers where they said that we ranked low on the Corruption Perception Index. And I know that many times, this particular administration, when we get those reports, they come out and say on what were the parameters that were used, what criteria was used. This administration is fighting corruption in so many ways. The ease of doing business is something that has gathered and garnered positive impact. Why are they not looking at these things? And then you have this. So I wonder, even as a spokesperson of the administration, what you come out and say.
Nothing.
After standing up and, bringing some of this, and then this happens, then what do you say?
Nothing.
How do you say it?
Nothing.
With your full chest.
and Garba show were to say something to us on this.
No, they've said now. They made some comments.
Something.
They were even upset with them. I think there was somebody who was supposed to be in the meeting.
Yes. So the Wike had...
Yes.
Of course, we know him. He will speak his mind, and he thought, of course, this was the wrong thing to have done. It does not send the right message. And they said that he had his deputy governor. He was invited, but he had his deputy governor there,
the meeting,
who did not, according to them, participate in the meeting and could have, could have expressed their reservations about the pardon, which is another, which
as if anything would happen.
Which counts for something. I think if you are at a meeting, you should be able to say, well, I stood during that meeting. I was not part of those who accepted or agreed, so that you can come with your full chest and say that. But that still does not make it right. It still makes you look bad. That okay, so you lucky for you, Wike was not at the meeting, or
you went ahead
and did this.
That's all we can take in this segment. I hope that if there's anything that can be done, if the civil societies, like you said, if the SANs will come together and pull heads together, see if it can be overturned. If not, that is a lot of Nigerians who have to accept.
And another administration overturned.
Yeah. So that's it. When we come back, we take another story. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Welcome back. You know, we have been talking about children, parenting, in the light of everything that's been happening that we've seen so far. And a lot of people have been coming up with different comments, different videos. Everybody's handling one aspect of the issue or the other. So a message or a post on social media jumped at us, and this actor, Ruth Kadiri, was asking if it is okay for parents to flog their children. And our Auntie Nima here has refused to talk about this because we know that she's very much guilty about this. However, Reno Mokri also, in his own post, said that beating children has never led to discipline. If beatings worked, Africa will have the most well-behaved adults. And he went ahead to say that beating a child has never led to discipline. Rather, it instills fear in the child. If beating truly worked as corrective and disciplinary measure, Africa will have the most well-behaved adults. What are your thoughts on this? You can join the conversation on 081-270-53687 or 091-3980-76948, or tweet us using the hashtag YourViewTBC, or send us messages on Facebook and YouTube. Let's talk about this. Do you believe in beating children?
Believe?
You practice it, that's what you should do. Okay, so for someone, I would look at it, I would agree with Reno to an extent.
Okay.
Because growing up, I saw people who beat their children at the slightest
provocation.
Not even provocation.
Mistake.
Based on their moods. So if it's a bad day at work, you come home and beat somebody. And so that's the same excuse why some people come and beat their wives, beat their partners, scream and snap at everybody. But for somebody who was deliberately beaten, they beat me way. Deliberately beaten as a consequence for certain things I tried.
Okay.
I wasn't a child who would play where everybody, I would climb. I would fall on my head. I would land. And my parents were, accommodating of that to a certain age. If I had a bad result, I wasn't beaten. I was talked to.
Okay.
When I grew into teenager age and I wanted to start to explore certain things, I was talked to. But for lying, I remember one beating my father gave me. I wasn't just lying. I was lying about something religious. For a Muslim scholar, that beating was till daybreak. My mother could not save my neck. This is my father that were closest. And the beating was deliberate. And by morning, the conversation that followed showed that he was deeply hurt and he had to mete out consequence. That took away lying.
From you?
Immediately. Because I did not want to see him in that state. Someone who never beat me, and I was still hurting from even having to beat me that much. So beating for me was deliberate. It was intentional towards addressing me growing up. I remember my beatings. I remember them where my mother.
I remember the crime you committed.
I remember what I do. And I always say to myself, if I had a child as demanding of parenting as I was, I would resort to it too. I remember saying it growing up. Because my parents would, when they leave me, I just enjoy my life. I just think, okay, I'm untouchable, And they didn't want me to grow up like that, not being conscious about certain things. And I appreciate that discipline. That was discipline. Because the same parents will not appreciate it when somebody just beats me anyhow. So they would address it that if you are beating or if you're talking down to their child, it had to be for something bad because children would exhibit everything. So these days what we see is that we just come with a blanket book because, you know, some counselors or coaches are saying, no,
don't beat,
abroad they don't beat children, they turn away. But, you know, they have other measures of deliberate parenting. And for some, it still didn't work.
Yeah.
Consequences must meet action. I met a psychologist, and I always refer to Ayewande Oshodi, and I did not forget it. She said, when you give your child something to do, and you tell your child, if you fail to do this, there will be consequences, and then you fail to do the consequences.
That's the end. You've lost that child.
You don't finish the child.
Yeah.
So you have to do what you have to do when it comes to parenting. You love your child. You correct them as a result of that love because you're looking at what they will turn out to eventually. You're not looking at so that my child will not be hurt. What I cannot stand is when I see a parent just say, because people are talking, beat a child. So sometimes I'll be sitting with my child, especially the one that has several mothers. And the other mothers will be like, no, it's just a boy, it's just a little boy. What he's done is not bad. So me, I've learned. I'll smile with them. I'll say,
till you get home.
Bad. Even he knows that we are going home. There's a different cutting at home because I will sit you down first. I say, okay, you did. Just like my mom will say, 2 weeks ago, when your uncle visited, he was drinking Coke, your eye was like this inside. And they remain for you. They say, bring cup, you brought cup. I'm beating you for 2 weeks ago. So you are clear. We know what you are going at. If my mother is beating you, know. You'll just be wondering, since 2 weeks, you never forgive me. So I do it with my child as well. I come over and say, okay, you know that's what you did, that your mother excuse. It's not applicable in my house. Yeah. There's consequence for it. And I will match you enough. Match to match of it. So.
Thank you, Nima. Miriam, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I do not agree with flogging. And I was flogged as a child. And I will tell you that for many of the times I was flogged, I cannot remember what I did, but I still remember feeling angry because sometimes I did not think I deserved that flogging. And I also remember conversations we used to have as children, like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer them to flog you or to talk to you? And we used to say, it was easier, please just flog us. And then we know that you're done with it than to sit down to talk to you. Because then if my mom says to me, I want to see you, oh my God, I'll be so weak. Like, so they're going to now sit you down and they're going to tell you what you have, break it down, what you have done wrong. And then you feel that guilt and that shame. You know, that was much more, for those times that she sat and she spoke to me, I remember the things that I did, and I remember how I decided not to do those things again. But the times that she beat me, sometimes I felt rebellious, like, okay, let's go, you know. She wants to beat me, let's, you know, do another one, so you beat me again. It's just beating. And so for me, in my own parenting, I try to take that with my children, knowing how I responded to beating and how I responded to talking. Now, to be honest, with my children, I realized talking does affect them, impacts on them better. We're able to, than beating, back, you know, back and forth. My husband is the one that is just quick. He will take a belt, he will, you know, deal with it. But he's not like flogging, you know, put your hand out and get these 5 strokes for this that you did. Take these 2 strokes for this that you know. I'm not,
that's soft flogging.
No, there's the one that you take belt to your
wire
face,
your face
your
everywhere.
neck. You see the child bruised and battered. Yes, and usually when you ask what the person did, he refused to wash pots. He refused to wash plates, you know. So for me, I knew that I did not want that with my children. But now I have a child that is 10 years old. And before, when I just speak to that child and say to him, this is what you did and this is, why? How come? The reason why, if it was acceptable here, I'm like, you're talking too much. And part of me is like, if I give you one, I mean, this conversation will not be happening. It's because I'm having a conversation with you. That's why you're
questioning me.
You're questioning me. So I can now understand why it's easier to just go the way of the hitting. But see, recently I've had to take belts to the hand for the bad things that you have done. Because I have a boy that I have encouraged him to speak his mind. Because for me, I felt that growing up, I didn't get the chance. I was not encouraged to. And I felt that so many things were done to me. And because I was not encouraged to speak about it, those who would have protected me, who should have known, didn't know. Because for me, I felt that, okay, if I'm not meant to talk in this situation, I'm not meant to talk in any situation. And I want my children to be able to talk in any situation. But I'm trying to guide them to speak with not only confidence, but in a respectful manner. But now that I've encouraged them to be confident and to speak, I'm the one that they're using as example of what is happening. Do you understand? So I get how the flogging will come in. But as you said, so this is where I sort of agree with you. That deliberate on the hand, I will do that. But I would not, it will not be the first thing I do. It will not be the second thing I do. It has to be something you and I have talked and talked. And I also do this. They sweep the compound. The house chores will be double. What you used to do before, now you will get up and
community house service.
I'm telling you, community house service. They do that in my house. Yes. You will write an essay for me for what you did and why you did and why you never did. So all those sort of things we do in my house. You're mixing it.
Yes. I like that. Let's take this call from Nnamdi. Nnamdi from Magodo. Good morning. Hello, Nnamdi. Are you there? Hello, Nnamdi. Okay, we lost them. We lost him.
So sorry.
Yes. So personally, let me just quickly share this. So I was beaten, like my own beating turned to abuse. Like I would explain it out as abuse because I was beaten out of frustration. Like you said, you go to work, you come back, somebody has annoyed you, and then the next available person who probably kicks water or breaks a cup or breaks anything I just do, I was really, really beaten. And it didn't make me decide to change or adjust my behavior. It made me rebellious. So I got so tough. In fact, the day my father stopped beating me was the day after I'd done something, and then he came back, and I just went to kneel down, and I brought the cane beside me, like, come and beat me, let me go. That was when he said, no, this is not going to work anymore. So in raising my children, I've told myself I wouldn't just beat, because personally I see beating as lazy parenting. You just want to do it and get away. I won't beat. I would have a conversation with you. There is a time for beating. There is a time for talking. There is a time for, giving consequences. But the question I want to ask before you just quickly share your joke is, we beat for things we have not explained to them that is a sin or a crime or an offense. And then it happens and the next reaction is beating when you have not had a conversation with this child that this is wrong. How do we start correcting it from there? But share your joke.
Okay, so I wanted to share a joke about my Oga, my small boy, and, talking. And if you give my son a talking experience forever, of course, he's a good talker. So he's a why, what kind of child, where kind of child. And I've noticed that in his elder sister too. So I've learned to talk. I don't just, rush and beat. But this funny thing happened. He's become entitled. He's enjoyed certain privileges as the baby of the house. He thinks that they come with his person. It just exists to have them. So when you now beat him for those kind of things, he sees it as abuse. He sees it as if you are just being wicked to me. So we had to sit down and talk about it. That come, let's explain. He went to his mother's house and he wanted them to change the TV because whenever he comes in, immediately they put it on 6-0 for him to enjoy himself. And so the elder one said, no, we are watching something before you came. You can't just come in and determine. And so he said he had a miserable day. Had a miserable day today at his house. So, okay, do you understand that other people have a right to watch what they need to watch? And this conversation went gra-gra. So I said, okay, I'll wait for you to do it at home because I've seen that it's more expressive now. And he doesn't know the place of please. We've been learning please. Since.
He knows he doesn't want to use it.
He doesn't want to use it. And then he feels, if I don't think I offended you, I don't have to say sorry. So we're at that point now. And so I waited for him and he did the same thing, changed the channel on me. And I beat him with a conversation.
You were talking and beating?
No, I just asked. I let him commit the act. I said, did you just commit this act? He wanted to go explain. I said, okay, now you understand that that is wrong? Because I talked to him the other day after I miserable the experience about how he's entitled and how other people must have a chance. So he kept saying to me, so if I have my turn, you can have your turn. I said, yeah, turn is okay. And so when we came back, he now did it to me. This was not about the turn. He was asking me, what are you doing in my own area of watching TV?
It's his own parlor.
In my house. I said to him,
he needs to understand.
I need to watch this, and it's not showing on my own. Because, these cable people, they don't always respond. But it doesn't show in my own, and I need to watch it, and it shows here. He said, but I don't want to watch news. They're always watching news. And before you knew it, he changed the channel on me. I did not say anything. Because if we say we should continue a conversation, this is somebody I had a conversation with about people's... I gave him...
In your own house.
Yes, because the judgment now brought it, and I said to him, you're grounded for watching TV for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Cannot watch TV. This. And he says, no, it's night and morning now. And it's not night and morning.
We have to quickly wrap up on this, but let me pick your thoughts on an advice for people who are watching. There are a lot of parents who are on the crossroads. They don't know which everybody's saying don't beat, other people are saying beat. They don't know the right angle to take. They don't know how to better correct their children. All these things that happen in social media these past weeks, a lot of parents are scared. And some are becoming aware that they need to parent deliberately, but most of them do not know how. So in your own words, what advice would you give to parents who are concerned? How do I correct this child? How do I raise this child better? How do I manage this child better? In a few words so that we can wrap up.
So, you know, the word is deliberate parenting and does not mean flogging. And it does not even mean talking to them or talking down at them. Because I know I've seen that happen where some people say, I don't beat my child, I talk to the child. But then you insult the child. That's not deliberate parenting. Deliberate parenting is that you're involved in what it is that they are doing. You're asking questions of what it is that they are doing. You're checking them. You're asking them about their friends, about their thoughts on some things. Sometimes, if you're that deliberate and that involved in a child, you find out that you don't even need to reprimand as much because you have told them even before they think of doing the wrong thing. Most of the time, we have not, as you mentioned earlier, we haven't even corrected them. It hasn't come up yet, and then they act a certain way, and we go with beating.
Punishment.
Just quickly, recently my mom called me and said, someone from the house, I think my help had called her. I wasn't around, that he was rude to her. He was rude to the help in the house. He called her unjust to report. Anyway, that he was rude to the help here in the house. And I called him. I was like, how? How is this possible? He said, I'm so sorry. In fact, when it was explained, he said to me, I wasn't home. He said, when Grandma explained it to me, and I realized what I did, but actually meant it as a joke. I'm ashamed of what I did. I regret it. Those were his words.
Yes.
So there was no need for beating and everything. So I was deliberate in finding out. Even though it had been handled, I wanted to find out, why did you do what you did? And now we understand better, and it's not going to happen again. So the flogging, I only talk to them. I don't beat them. When you talk to them, what did you talk to them about?
To them.
If in that case I came, don't be rude to anybody. I didn't ask don't try it. Don't do it. Without asking what happened. That is not deliberate parenting. If I'd come in flogging, that is not deliberate parenting either.
There's also the part of being the example you want your child to be.
Yes.
Awesome.
So if you're kind, if you're nice and respectful to people you think are
they'll
under
pick up on it.
They'll pick up on it eventually. Whatever stage a child is, that determines the approach.
I agree.
You know, and they're all not the same. You can have 5 different approaches to raising them. So that you're beating one as a result of, putting in consequence. Maybe that child never believes that there's a consequence for anything. He gets away with everything. And you're afraid that there are just some choices he might make in life that would eventually have grievous consequences. Yeah. You start to address it from a small behavior. So maybe 2 children are playing, he's always in the front of taking something and saying, but
selfish.
I didn't mean it now. I'm just playing with him. And, the other person is crying. Or maybe he comes home every day showing up with things that,
that don't belong to him.
Stop doing this. You're addressing that little by little. You need to give it back. Take it back to school. I would
match you to this.
I will follow you.
Match you there and drop it.
Someone assembly. But I did that in my daughter's school once, and it was against myself. I shared that. So sometimes we need to be slow, but whatever method. But that abuse of flogging, just beating a child, because a lot of parents abuse their own children because they were abused.
Or talking down on children, like
it's a consequence. So it's flogging. I used to say, when I say lie down, they know the meaning. If I say, bring your hand, your own is 3. You are senior, it's double the 3. So that, and it's conversational about. But I don't beat my children deliberately for breaking anything like a gadget.
No, of course not. I broke my new phone.
If you break your phone, if you break my phone, something will happen. If you break your tablet, no consequence. It means you don't have a so
I broke my own phone. Did anybody beat me?
No,
you beat your money.
Yes. So also I would beat you. Honestly, I'll have to add that I think with everything that's happening, it's very important that parents begin to take classes, especially on child psychology. There were a lot of things that I learned that helped me. If not, I really do not understand how I would have handled my children coming from where I came from. So it helped me to understand the psychology of the children. And also, we need to observe our children. Not all will be handled the same way. I have 3. 3 of them have different patterns, different behavior. I can't use the same method for 3 of them. Thank you so much, ladies, for your contribution. We'll go on a short break now. When we come back, we take women in politics. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Joining us is a woman with specialization in public administration, project management, real estate pre-licensing. She has served in various organizations in huge capacities as president, CEO, executive secretary, etc. Welcome, Kairat Animashaun Ajiboye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. So we are actually celebrating women who decide to get into politics, into leadership roles, because we want to support a lot of women with our platform, women who have decided to take up the mantle of leadership. And we're excited that you're one of those. And I hear that you want to contest for governorship of Lagos State, Mary.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam, why?
Yes, ma'am. I found out that, or we've observed over the years, that we've had our fathers, our brothers, our uncles take the mantle of leadership in Lagos. I want to be specific to Lagos.
Okay.
And we found out that they have tried, they've done their best, but we still have a lot of concerns, you know, about our state. And I feel that why not a woman? Why shouldn't a woman have, I mean, a woman, we're born the same. We have the same mental capacity. We have women who have been top of their classes, who have thrived in different sectors of the economy, who can bring their nurturing spirit, their nurturing nature as a mom to change the dynamics of power play in Lagos. And then I said, I want to be the next governor of Lagos State. That's what, you know, informed my decision to come out. And I started this 10 years ago when I actually had that mindset, because we actually have to have a place where leaders are trained. We need to create that.
Okay.
Where leaders are cultured. To know that it's not enough for you to just be, to hold power. You also have to take responsibility, not just for your team or for the bourgeois or for the
party,
but for the people. The people that thread the streets, that walk the streets every day. They need to also feel the impact of governance. That does not mean that everybody must be in government, but at least let them see that the government of the day cares about their well-being.
Okay, so, you know, people have said with women, we like to give them a pass because they are women, so they just come and speak and we don't ask them the tough questions. So I want to ask you the tough question, and that is, you're running for governor of Lagos State. What do you think are the challenges right now? What do you think that administration, past and present administration, has not done, has refused to do, and how do you think you can, you know, you can make a difference? In what ways do you think you can make a difference, and what experiences do you think you have to bring to the table?
We had a Lagos of Mobolaji Johnson and all of the previous governors of Lagos State, where Lagos was calm and where you can move freely in Lagos, where the Lagos people accept everybody, you know, we were kind to everybody. We let everybody come take our houses and just come to Lagos. You know, we had that Lagos. Can we have that Lagos again, where we will not be afraid to step out of our doors, where we will not be afraid to say hello to the next door, to the next human moving down the streets? So it's not about it's not enough to be a youth, because I consider myself one.
You are. If you believe it, you are.
It's not enough to be a woman, nor a man, but it is best if you are that human who has humanity in you, who has integrity in you, to be able to make the difference. So I'm answering that question. It is not necessarily because I look like a woman. No. It is more because of what I am, what I have been, what I have done, and how consistent I have been in my attitudes, regardless of where I find myself. I am someone who will be able to bridge the gap between the very rich and the very poor.
Why? How?
Because I have been there, done that. Because I graduated from Lagos State University. And when I was in Lagos State University, I became the first female Secretary General of the Student Union Government. And I have done that in so many organizations. I was also the first female Secgen of Eco Club International, USA, London, Canada. Good. And I was able to achieve feats that were not achieved before. Same thing when I was in LASSO, same thing when I was in Elaro. I'm saying this to say that I have had the same tendencies in me of being consistent, of trying to do right, regardless of where I find myself. And based on that, we want people that will come to governance and be consistent, understand the situation, analyze the situation, come to good conclusions with their team to ensure that everybody gets some level of deliverance of governance in a good way. So it has really nothing has to do with, it really has nothing to do with the muscles. You know,
the heart and the head.
The heart and the head and the ability to appreciate every level. Because I saw a new Lagos when I walked around the streets of Lagos. I actually consciously took a keke napep around my community in Amuodofin yesterday. And I was glad I did that because I was able to appreciate what is actually on the streets. And I saw that in Surulere, where I was a couple of days ago, I saw that we have a lot of destitutes on the streets. If we continue with this pattern and the ruling class does not do something, do something about it, it's going to become a bad omen for us as a whole. For us all.
I must say that I share that fear. I constantly worry about it, and the fact that it's not being attended to is with the seriousness it should be, because of what it can bring. I live in Amuodofin. Okay. And I can tell you for a fact that I've experienced already what it can bring. My question here is, Lagos is a peculiar area. It has its own dynamics. It has its own politics, and it has its history being debated by other tribes. So if you were running for governor in Anambra, you had to be Newi, something. If you're in Imo, you're in Bise, you cannot be Lagos in there. But in Lagos, you can be anybody. Yeah. Because it's a cosmopolitan. We hear a lot of English excuse around making it different. So you are running for governorship in Lagos. These dynamics will affect you. I've seen your profile, you're Awori, Lagos Island and all of that. How would you play that game here? One. Two, the problem of Lagos is not a problem of just, when people come out here and they say that I know how to bridge the gap between the poor and the rich. I'm a people's person. When you look at the people's person part, because they do giveaways, share rice, monthly, and all of that. In Ramadan, they come, their politicians, at their house, you see a crowd.
People coming to eat.
And so that's how they're a people's person. How do you want to be a people's person the way that I expect? I don't want to say what I expect of you, but I want to hear what you
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nima. I was with a father of mine yesterday, actually to break bread, Ramadan. And my father was saying, I have a lot of fathers. And he was telling me the level of poverty and the reason why there has to be bags of rice, there has to be this, there has to be that, to help the widows, to help everybody. That, do you see their faces when they are given money? And I said, Daddy, we're not saying that we do not appreciate that. But we're saying that for how long would we continue to give handouts?
True.
Can we provide jobs? These women need real jobs to take care of their kids, of their family, of their households. For how long are we going to make our people beg? So if we're looking for structures, we want to create structures, enabling environment whereby people can actually thrive. It is not enough to just survive every 4 years. You give them 10,000, 20,000 and a bag of rice now.
Not even enough.
Is that going to serve them for 4 years? I was going back and forth with that, and he said, do you have a billion? And I said, Daddy, we do not have to do that. Let us talk to our leaders. You, our fathers, you need to start changing mindsets. Our royal fathers are even scared for their subjects to come to them.
Wow. Because
of the poverty and the penury level. What do we do? So we need to bring solution, bring orientations around solutions for all of these problems that we see. So what do we want to create? One thing I have to tell you, though, is this. I and my team, we are very keen about how the attitude of our people. It is not just about the ruling class. It is not just about the politicians. Every one of us have responsibilities that we have to uplift for us to be better, for our state, our country to be better. Because you find out that the attitude that the elderly have, that all of the other people, are the same attitude that our children and our younger ones possess. That's what the same attitude that they have.
Everybody has the same.
How do we try to start changing this narrative?
It starts from the place of influence. Leadership influence the cultures. Culture of materialism, all of that.
The reason why we have to have people of like minds in governance, people who believe that, okay, guys, let's take a step back. The oligarchy and the power people, you want to take care of you. But why don't you also let us give a fraction of this patrimony of ours to the people? Let us create jobs. Coming in today, like I said earlier, I saw a lot of young boys, potential, powerful guys that can drive the infrastructural level of this country, of this state. They can drive the technological advancements of this state. I could see their eyes. These are young boys that are keen, that are waiting. Hungry. To be taught. So we can do that. We can provide facilities that can train these young boys in different areas. Where we now go politic and beg the government and say, Joe to your loan. We need funding for this. Where can we generate more funding for this? And we have the capability, we have the populace to do that.
Let me quickly ask you this question. So I know that when it comes to elections and politicians, there's always promises flying up and down. And if you do not give us something specific, we will not have something to hold you accountable to. So for the sake of being specific, what are some of the solutions, some of the problems that you have highlighted, the solutions you want to give to solve that problem, so that if you become successful tomorrow, you can say, Madam, you say you were going to do A versus B. We have not seen it. See what we're doing to the president right now. We have seen it. He mentioned corruption. He mentioned insecurity. Till today, we have not seen it. So we can hold it. What are some of those specific solutions you want to bring in when you get into power?
Okay. One of our mantras is this. Our major mantra is dare to be unconventional. Right? When we want to hold public offices to anything, we want to listen to their, I'm going to give you free food, I'm going to give you free education, I'm going to give you, that is what we always ask them. But can we be a little bit more pragmatic? Can we find a way out of this? Such that it will not be the same repertoire of conversations every year, year in, year out. So let us find a way, ask me questions as to the issues of this, what kind of solutions can we prefer? Maybe it is better. Maybe we can start changing that mindset as media men and media giants. So that way it will be easier to actually make our people be more solution-oriented in terms of how they want to solve our problems. So what I'm saying in essence is this. We have problems of unemployment. Unemployment situations. In fact, fundamentally, we have power problems.
Major.
Now we're talking. I understand that there are issues that the federal government has signed and that has done some things. I don't know what the legal terms are. But I'm looking for a situation whereby we can romance the federal government. And I'm being sincere now. to see how we can generate more power in Lagos State. Because if there's power, even if it is not 100% as at right now, we can put a plan together, a policy statement together, to say we expect this to... I know there are a lot of giants in that industry that may not want this to thrive. So that is why governance is not just about coming to say, I'm going to do this in 4 years, I'm going to do that. Because you have to do a lot of research.
Let me quickly come into what your structure to get into governance is. So we know how politics play here. And they say structure, how do you want to make your numbers? In Amuodofi, for instance, where that's your place of birth, how would you say your influence is? What's your party like in terms of structure? How are your unit and area meetings? What are they? What does it?
It's growing. It's coming up. And I'm going to say this because I've said it in a couple of platforms. This is where I grew up. I was not born in Amuodofi. I was born in Lagos Island. I'm from Lagos Island originally, yes. And when I came in, I see a lot of my young, brothers, sisters. Auntie, I've known you for years, 25 years. I'm like, you guys are so big now. I wouldn't even recognize you. And I said, what are you all doing now? A lot of them are maybe jobless right now. And I'm thinking, I'm cracking my brains, and I'm saying, let's have a meeting. What can we do? Do you know you guys can do this? When I saw the community, how dirty it was, I said, we can actually create a day or two. The government does not have to do everything for us. So this is where structures build. The government doesn't have to do everything for us. Let us come out and clean. We can put this on YouTube. We can put it on social media, let everybody know that we are taking responsibility.
For our lives.
For our lives, for our future, for our health. For our mothers and fathers that are still there, that's been there for 50, 40 years. And they agree with me. I said, we have to find a day to do it. So this is where structures grow. And then when you go to meet there's one thing I want to say, and I'm very serious, and I don't mean to be rude, is that our elders in our communities should not always expect the political leaders to support them through handouts. So that the political leaders can actually go down the line to do what they're supposed to do. So what I'm saying now is that we want to take governance to the people. The 3 tiers of government, we want to see how we can create directorates. Like in the I stay in Atlanta, Georgia, and I come in and out. I know that we have the local government, which is the umbrella one, and then we have cities. So in having cities, they have their budgets. So they're able to cascade down developments to, closer to the people.
The grassroots.
So if we are able to do stuff like that, do things like that for our people, it will be easier. Then if the power situation can get a little bit better, which I believe it will be, depending on who's negotiating. If you're negotiating and you're not asking for anything, you're negotiating for the true interest of the people. And people can see through you that you're sincere. They would want to listen. Our fathers are not dumb. They're not stupid. They know what the right things are. And they can see through us when we do what is right. So if we're able to do that, we can now create these hubs, these job hubs for infrastructural development and engage our youth positively. Because they need to be engaged positively.
Or else.
Yeah. Or else.
So there's this other thing in Lagos State. Next, when you talk about Lagos State, you talk about traffic. You talk about the port, you talk about the bad roads. And, we've had, I think, 2 governors even struggle. They make promises and we see how it falls apart. In what way do you think you can make a difference? Because, a lot of the blame is put on the federal government because federal government owns those facilities. How would you handle it differently?
By profession, I am actually first a town planner.
Okay.
I did town planning in Lilaro. I did town planning in Lagos State University. So we look at things holistically and plan cities, plans. Planning is all encompassing when it comes to city planning or town planning or whatever you want to call it. So I'm saying this to say that we have a lot of drainage issues in the States.
Yeah, true.
And I'm going back to the same thing that I talked about our attitudes. Coming here, my driver threw a Tom-Tom plastic and threw it out the window. And I said, oh God, that's what you do now, no good. Don't do that again. We are trying to change our mindsets. When you take pure water nylon, you throw it in the drain. Everything you have, you throw it in the drain. Your trash from your house, you throw it in the drain. How does that help government to continue with the policies that they put in place? You understand? So there are a lot of things that we have to do, but we have to actually see what is on ground. Where do we want to go? What is the reality on ground? What is in government right now? Because I know a lot of the civil servants are working very hard, tirelessly to make things happen. They may have their own challenges. So we need to be able to understand what the challenges are. But one thing that I can tell you is this. We will bring responsibility to governors. And we'll make sure that everybody takes their own fair share of responsibility in a nice way. But let us all be responsible for what it is that we want to see.
Okay, ma, because of time, let me ask you this final question.
Thank you.
I believe that everybody who wants to get into politics in their head or want to solve a problem, well, the way politics is played, especially in this country, you find yourself there and you are stifled. Have you thought about how you can manage people who will want to sabotage your good plans? Do you have any mechanisms? Do you have a godfather who would have your back? Because we still operate on politics of godfatherism. What are your plans?
Thank you very much. I've actually talked about a couple of them.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is this. A good heart can go a long way. Even though they say, Nigeria, this is Nigeria, don't say that. When I was in the US, I came back to Nigeria and did politics and all of that, and I rose to the national level of politics. And then when I left, a resolution was passed in my name by the House in Georgia. When I read it, I cried because I was like, oh, I didn't know they could see through me. So I'm saying this to say that when your intentions are good, when you have good plans, you're going to campaign to everybody. Tell everybody the good, the bad, and the ugly. That if the ugly say, please, if you mess up this plan, this is how it will affect you.
The future.
Not even in the future, the present. Right. We're going to have to come up with rules and regulations. Because that's so we're even talking. I see a lot of in the news now, people talking about indiscipline, where we have to come up with, you know, the reasons why we have to let people know that it is wrong. You were talking about punishing kids, so that kids can know that this is wrong. If they don't know it is wrong, it happened to my son, and he said something, used a bad word in school, and he says, and the teacher went on him, and he started crying. I said, why would you say that? That's the wrong way to, but mommy, I didn't know it was a bad word.
Oh my God.
So I'm saying it to say that you have a role to play, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have a role to play. Everybody has a role to play. We have to take the campaign to the grassroots. So I'm a wash choco, I'm a jumper. We get into the grassroots and let the people know this is right, this is wrong. Let us try to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kairat Halima Shan, who is aspiring to be the next governor of Lagos.
Yes.
This is just a reminder that our conversation strives to represent different views, to give perspective to the discussion. And thank you so much, ladies, for your contributions. That's all we can take on the show today. Till we'll come your way again tomorrow. Bye-bye now.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.